Well, welcome to the thought for the day, and it's let's see, midday, and it's 45 degrees here in Tryon, North Carolina, on top of Melrose Mountain, and we're in Jeremiah chapter 5, and I've got to admit it's kind of depressing because in these first 10 chapters is nothing but judgment of God against the nation of Judah and the coming destruction of the city of Jerusalem, the temple, and the people there. And of course, we're writing a number of years before the actual siege of Jerusalem. And so we know that this is quite a prophecy, but nevertheless, it's very, very depressing. One thing that I've noticed as I've been going through these studies in the Old Testament is that God continually reminds the people the judgment is brought on by themselves. And the more I've spent the time in these particular books of the Old Testament, the more I see a parallel to America today, and why Billy Graham and his wife and others have said soon God's going to owe an apology to Sodom and Gomorrah if he doesn't judge America. And I think you'll see that again today in chapter 5, because here we find Jeremiah in chapter 5 saying, roam around Jerusalem, see if you can find even one righteous man. Kind of the way it is today, isn't it? And then he says, they think they are, but they aren't. Verses 2 and 3. And he continues and he says, I'm going to let the lion, the wolf, and the leopard destroy them because of their transgressions. And again, God continually gives a reason for his judgment, and it's quite clear that the judgment is coming because of their own actions. And he says, why should I forsake them, in verse 7? Why should I pardon them, as he says in verse 7? Even their sons have forsaken me. In verse 10, he says, it's going to be a complete destruction. And of course, we know that the siege of 586 was a complete destruction. And then he says, Jeremiah, your words are going to be like fire, and the people are going to be like wood. That's pretty graphic, isn't it? And he says, I'm going to call a nation against you. And we know that that was Babylon. And there's going to be a complete destruction. Now listen to how he calls the people. He says, verses 21 through 23, he says, you're foolish, senseless. You have eyes, but you do not see. You have ears, but you do not hear. And you have no fear of me. Now I want you to look at verses 29 and 30. And I want you to think about America today. I want you to think about what we've done in the last 20 to 50 years in America, or what kind of values we've changed from. But I hope you go back and read the entire chapter of Jeremiah, but for the thought for the day, we have to abbreviate, and so let's just look at two verses today. Jeremiah chapter 5, verses 30 and 31. An appalling and horrible thing has happened in the land. Does that sound like the United States? The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests rule over with their own authority, and my people love it so. But what will you do at the end of it? It's a sad scenario, isn't it? Prophets that are false prophets and say everything is fine, and we have lots of those today. And priests who are authoring things under their own authority instead of the Word of God. And we certainly have lots of false priests or preachers today. What's going to happen at the end of it? It's kind of depressing when you think about leaving this mess to our children and our children's children. And certainly God has made it clear to Jeremiah that the nation has brought this upon themselves. This is something that they've done through their own unrighteousness. Well, God judged Jerusalem, Judea, with a siege and near total destruction. What's going to happen to America? I think we all need to think about that. And I think we need to do what we can, not only in the voting booth, but also in our own lifestyle and in the way that we talk to other people and the way we encourage other people in the ways of righteousness. And that's my thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.